Welcome. This is the Testaments of Faith podcast. I'm your host, Ray Bradshaw. I'm glad you've chosen to listen to the testimonies of our brothers and sisters in Christ. There is no better way to confess your love of Jesus than a testimony of what Christ has done in your life. All right. Welcome to today's podcast. Today is November the 5th, 2025. And we've come to Greenevers, North Carolina to talk with Mrs Jessie Murphy and get her testimony. Miss Jessie, welcome to the podcast.
It's my pleasure.
It is awesome to have you here. I know you've known me my whole life, and I've known you my whole life.
That's right.
And me and her youngest son Tracy were best friends growing up, and still are good friends. So, with that being said, Miss Jessie, would you like to tell us your testimony and what the Lord done for you in your life?
So much I don't know. I can't even tell you all of it.
Well, like I said, we've got plenty. As long as that camera keep recording, we can keep right on talking.
Well, my name previously was Cottle. I was a Cottle from Belleville, born and raised right there. I had 5 brothers and 2 sisters. And, of course, for me to tell you all the things you need to know, I'm going to have to tell you just a little bit about how things were when I was little.
Right. That's understandable.
My mother was an angel. She was a soft-spoken lady. I never heard her raise her voice in my life. She'd get aggravated, but you could tell she was aggravated. But she did not raise her voice to none of us. And how she conquered that 8 head, I don't know.
That's tough.
But she did.
That's self-discipline.
Well, also, my dad didn't live with us. He decided he kind of didn't want the responsibility of his children, so he flew away.
Yep.
And he has had nothing to do with our life since that particular time. But it made it hard because you're coming off of a depression. You're going into a war. And this is 1940, 30s and 40s. Now, I was born in 1936.
Mm-hmm.
So that means if I can hold out for this month and next month, I'll be 90 years old.
There you go. You're going to make it.
I hope. But that's the secret to me, the whole thing about my testimony is the fact that I'm still here. And if you could see all the things that between then and now, you'd say, how are you here? Why are you here? But anyway, we had a real hard time growing up, but we were happy. We were happy children. We didn't know we were poor. So I guess it didn't have as much effect on my life then as it did after I got to be a teenager. Once I got to be a teenager, I was just a typical person like anybody else. Thought I knew everything and didn't know much of anything. But while I was growing up, somewhere when I was about 10 years old, somewhere in the middle of those years, there would be a revival, a spring revival. You'd always have one in the spring and in the fall. Well, in the spring, the school was still going then. And at 10 o'clock on a Friday morning, well, actually, he'd do it however many days he was there, but he would have, he would open up for the school children, anybody that wanted to go to church. You didn't have to go, you could go if you wanted to. But the Baptist church was right across the road in front of my house. in front of my school. So I did get a lot, more from that too. But Mama always spoke to us continually in something that came out of the Bible.
Yep.
She knew more about what was in Psalms and Solomon. Then she'd go over to the New Testament. She'd just go right on with it. And she spoke to us a lot like that. And we learned that through that. But after I went to the church across the road when I was in school, when they would have it. And somewhere during that time, I went to one of the night services, and they had an altar call. Being the child I was, I remember raising up and looking back at Mama. She was on the seat behind me. And she didn't say nothing, so I went up. And that was fine and good, except they informed us, everybody that wants to be baptized, stay and we'll talk to you. Well, I stayed. I didn't know exactly what was going on, but I did stay. So I was baptized in the Hallsville River.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the coldest days, I was shivering. But anyway, that was the beginning of my interpretation of being a Christian.
Right.
Not that I knew much about it, except it was a good word. But it did have a lot to do with the rest of my life. When I was 17, I married Earl Murphy, crossed the river. And when I crossed the river, and pardon me for talking with my hands.
You're all right.
When I come over here, though, it was a whole different language. I lived in the little town of Beulahville, and it was no more than, much more than Chinquapin then. But that's where we grew up. Had free range in the town. The boys did. Well, girls, I didn't have free range or nothing. I was the one that hung back and stayed with my mother. And from there, I guess there was nothing extremely different. Only when I come over here, I was used to going to church off and on. I couldn't go often because we had to walk, and it was as far as from here to Charity.
Oh, yeah.
To go to church. So, but would go. And when I came over here, though, I told Earl, I said, well, now, there's one thing about it. You're good with me to church. If you're not good with me, I'm going where I want to go. So the Baptist church was right down the street from here. At Charity was the Wesleyan church where his family supposedly went. They didn't ever go after I came over here, but supposedly that was their denomination.
Right.
And for a long while he did. So I'm basically, except for times when I have to say something, I'm going to kind of like leave him out. Whatever happened between Earl and myself was another story.
Right.
So.
Now, are you talking about the Island Creek Baptist Church
Yeah.
there?
Uh-huh. It was right there.
That's when I was baptized in.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
And I began to learn different people and, things that went on. But weren't too long after I got over here. Well, Dawn was born in 53, 54, 55. She was born a year and a half after I got married. And Randall 8, they're kind of spaced out. All my children are spaced out like that.
Yeah.
And so didn't keep me from going to church. To begin with, he didn't want to go to church with me, to another church. So I went down to the Baptist church, and I went there for about 6 months. And he decided, I don't know why he decided, but he did. He decided he'd go with me, and from there on, I spent my life at Charity. That's, I suppose, I'm not sure about this, but I suppose it was a spin-off of a regular Methodist church.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard all kinds of tales about whether it was or wasn't, so I don't really know that. But that's where I spent the rest of my life. I have worked in the church. I have taught Bible school. I've done a whole lot of things that I didn't know what I was doing. I was the greenhorn.
You knew.
But
The Lord was leading you.
we
in the
were
right direction.
regular. And I told my children as they came along, I said, now there's two things you're going to do. As long as you live here with me, you're going to church and you're going to finish school.
Yep.
So that was the two things that I requested of them, and they all have done that. So, I have to back up a little bit. Somewhere about 58, as the year Randall was born, I had a problem swallowing. I thought it was kind of choking. I went to the doctor. He told me, he says, well, I just don't know what in the world is wrong with you, but I want to send you somewhere else. So he sent me to Kinston, and guess who to? The eye doctor.
To the eye doctor.
To the eye doctor.
And you had something wrong with your throat?
Well, I went over there, coldest day to be sure I went. And while he was examining my eyes and whatever, he says, do you mind if I go behind you and just reach down across your shoulders and touch you? And I thought it was something about the examination, so I said, okay. Well, he went around, and what did he do? Was he got hold of my throat from behind and checking my throat. Sure enough, I had a thyroid problem, and it kept growing, So I wound up at Carolina, North Carolina State, the hospital, whatever they call it now.
Right.
And they operated, took out half of it. Come on back home. A year and a half to 2 years later, I had to go back and get the other half out. That was the beginning of disaster. I got along fine up to then. I always recovered and did everything pretty well, but something hit. Tracy was born in 1971. The day he was born, maybe I should say to the next day because he was born in the afternoon, I got come alive with swollen, my hands were swollen, my feet were swelling, whatever, something I weren't used to, whatever, but I was sick. Kidney problem from there. So I stayed on a while. Finally come home, stayed home 3 or 4 days, and I was back again with the same problem. Anyway, I wound up in Clinton. In Clinton, they didn't know what was wrong. They had no idea what was wrong. Well, it was long about the time Patch Rouse was sick. Well, the doctor said she had been good too, so I felt satisfied about it, and I come on back home. And eventually, though, I wound up at Duke with the same thing. I had the surgery, and I hadn't had nothing else except the problem, whatever it was. We didn't know what it was.
Right.
Didn't know what to give me for it. But anyway, I overcame that. I don't know. I'll have to pause and get my order my things. It'll sound crazy. Anyway, I did wind up in Chapel Hill. At that time, I've been all over creation with it. It turned out to be lupus.
Oh, yeah.
And I dealt with that thing for a long, long time. I had a baby when I had to go to Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
Or I went to Durham with the last time I went. I went to Durham. And I had this baby, and who's going to take care of my baby plus the other little ones?
Yeah.
Trace was the last one. But my mother and sister-in-law came and got a baby. Carried him home. We kept him about 2 weeks. A newborn baby.
I know you hated that.
Oh, I hated to do that
Yeah.
so bad. But they didn't care. They loved it, and Patrick was like 5 years old then, so they enjoyed him too. We got through it anyway. I survived that, but it has been a battle with that problem through the years, and everything that I would start to do, it would prevent it. It would flare up. If it didn't flare up, it would you'd catch something else because it's an immune disease.
Yeah.
And so I kept going to church, doing whatever they did out there. I don't know as it ever stopped me from going any of that while I was dealing with all that. But now this problem went on for a long, long time till the 90s, from 70 to the 90s. And what happened there, I need to backtrack just a little bit and tell you one other thing in the middle. With one of the episodes of whatever was wrong that we were having such a time with, I had a little bleed in my side and had to go to Wilmington. They overdosed me. And I come near as I said leaving this world that time. When they didn't know nothing else to do, they called down to the emergency room, and one of the doctors that was there went and flied upstairs. He got down on the floor because they just thought I was already gone.
Right.
He got on his hands and knees to listen to my heart with his head. Now, I didn't know nothing about this. I was out of it. I didn't know nothing was going on. I went to ICU and stayed however long it was. I know nothing about what went on there. All I know is I got better, and when I got better, I came home. Now, that sounds crazy, but dealing with illness, and you should know that, dealing with things like that keeps you confused in a lot of things. What day it is, how much medicine you're supposed to take. Did I take it or didn't I take it? Just stuff like that. And so you eliminate remembering things that weren't absolutely necessary.
Right.
But anyway, I'm still in my church, still working the church. We made quilts. We did everything in the world. We had yard sales, you name it. We built a new church while I was there. It was just a pleasure. I enjoyed my church life. However, as the years kept on, everything get different. And as the song says, they tore the old country church down and built a big new church way downtown with a steeple so high it reaches the sky.
Yeah.
Pride has stepped in where love should have been. So that's sort of what happened to the church as time went on, because it's definitely not like it was. A revival there was fun. It was really a pleasure to go. You felt so good for a long time after you had been to a revival. It did. And they changed the way they did our preachers, just changing everything. You always have to change, and I know you have to change. But that don't mean that all change is good for you.
Right, that's right.
So, anyway, I stuck with Bethel. I'm still there. I can't go, but I'm there. From there, I need to tell you a little bit more about this problem that I've had. No, I've got to backtrack one more time. In the 90s, what happened to the lupus thing, and I was so sick one time. Couldn't even pull up the sheet on my bed. Couldn't pull it up over my coat. They were so sore. Well, if you haven't ever had that kind of feeling, you don't really know. But it's bad. And the pastor and his wife came and anointed me right there in my bed. Now, the next day or two, I didn't see a change or anything. But within just 4 or 5 days, I began to get better, and I'm better, and I'm better, and it hasn't bothered me since.
I'm telling you, that's the Lord working right there.
Yes.
'Cause I felt the same thing when I was in the hospital. A friend of mine, the pastor, would come and pray over me, and I could just feel it in me. I mean, it gives me chill bumps right now thinking about it. I mean, it is real.
It does, and you think back to that feeling. And I wish, that everybody could feel that.
I wish they could too.
But
do.
they can't. Now, I'm not one of these people that, when you're saved, it's a big joyful thing, you got to remember everything you did, and you got to remember what date it was, and what day it was, and who the preacher was, and what. That don't matter to me. My relationship with God is the only thing that matters to me.
Amen.
So, I got you how far?
Well, your pastor come and prayed for you when you had
He
the
did.
lupus.
He came and prayed. And from there on, I got along fair.
Well,
We sort of had a handle on anything I would have to do because of this. So,
now let me ask you this. And I know after I got first hit, I mean, I felt like I'd been saved for a reason.
uh-huh.
And now I feel like that reason is for people to tell my testimony on what happened. But when during that sickness, did you ever have any doubt that the Lord was not there for you at any time? I mean, a lot of people go through that when they're sick.
I didn't have the feeling that he was not there for me. I had the feeling that I'm not there for him.
Right.
There's just a space somehow, a vacancy that needed to be filled.
Yeah.
And I didn't know exactly how to handle this. I heard a person teach a Sunday school lesson one morning on that, And you see, I didn't know, and I still am not sure how people treat children when they come to the Lord. Because when I was the child and I went up, I don't suppose the Lord will save you then. He might prepare you to be saved.
Right.
But I don't know. I just have put that out of my head. But I don't know. I found myself doubting myself.
Right. You doubt yourself. You weren't doubting the Lord, you were doubting yourself.
So,
and that's what I say too to people that I tell my testimony to is like, I was baptized. Me and Lisa Bradshaw got baptized at the same time. I think we were 13 or 14.
uh-huh.
And I've always had the faith, but I did not have the faith. That's what I always told everybody, because I always thought Ray could handle it without any help. Man, and I was wrong.
Well, I didn't know back in these, actually, the 1900s, the part that I lived.
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot about, because I had been to church all of my life, and I had that good mother. I knew I had a connection somehow, but I couldn't come up with this, like I was saying a while ago, this wild idea that I got to remember the date, I got to remember the time, and all that stuff.
I couldn't remember the date and all that stuff. If I'm not mistaken, it was Mr. Hartzell that was there at the time.
Mr. Hartzell.
Yeah, but I don't, like I said, I don't remember if I was 13, 14, 15, somewhere in that age range.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you exactly.
Well, that's me. I can't give you too much on exactly how much of the age is. I just know it all happened in my life because a lot of things have gone on. Things were not like they should have been at home. However, I did not let that interfere
Right.
with how I felt about the Lord. And I think that possibly, Well, I've asked myself many times, why in the world was I here? Why am I having to go through all this? Because it was, Ray, it was one thing behind another. And it would seem like it didn't just tax my ability to function, it attacked my ability to reason with my own self.
Right. Yeah, it affected mentally also.
I figured, well, my problem was me. I had hoped that was all the problem. Well, it weren't, but I still was never left behind. He didn't never leave me
Right.
behind.
And
He
never
was
will.
there when I asked for him to be there every time I went to him. And all the times that I didn't go when I should have went or should have done, whatever, he was there. But still weren't giving him credit for it like it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
I weren't realizing that made it. I don't know how other people feel
Right.
until, anyway. Now I don't know how far I've got with that.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, we got up to the 90s and you got over to lupus, and then I just asked you a question how you felt about the Lord. So, I mean, you can just take it from we're from the 90s.
Well, after then, I began to come into my own. I had known that we had a hard time growing up. I'd known that we were poor. But I said, Mama always told me, don't never let nobody tell you you ain't worth nothing.
Right.
Because you're just as good as anybody if they owned all the money in the world. You're just as good as anybody else. So through the years, that has kind of stuck with me. But I also realized that during those years, 50 years almost, that I was married, I was having to learn things that I should have learned while I was at home under my mama's.
Mm-hmm.
She couldn't. That's all she could do would be work and make a living, because Daddy didn't help us at all. And I kind of was having to learn. I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't want to admit it, but I didn't. I started taking classes at James Front. Every chance if I get kind of well, they offered a class I would take. I'd go there and go to school.
Yep.
I managed somehow.
Gotta learn what you can.
I had a black lady that helped me continually. She realized, I think, when I first come over here, that I was the position I was in. And she would just help me, and she did, as long as she was able and lived. She lived to be 100, so.
Wow.
You remember Miss Frances Carroll?
Yep.
Well, that was her.
Yep.
She kept my children. She cooked for me. She slept in my bed, and she was just a godsend for me through all those hard years, and they were hard dealing with that lupus. That was hard. But anyway, it hasn't been back, and thank the Lord for that.
Amen.
I just can't say enough. Earl, in his later years, he was getting unhealthy. I won't say he was sick, because that's not the way he was. He was losing his sight, and one time he had fell on the motorcycle out at 2 o'clock in the morning when he should have been home. And the dog, he said, ran out ahead of him, and it broke his leg, messed up his leg somehow or other, it hit his head. But he had never had no sickness, so we were blessed in that respect, that it was always me and not him. But anyway, come back up to where I was. Oh, there was something in there I was going to tell you, but right now on
Fix
the
them
side
TV,
burner.
come back
It's
to it.
on the side burner. Oh, I started having trouble with something came up on my arm, an itchy feeling on my arm, just a little bump, just a little bump. And I kept watching it. As time went on, it'd be a month, and it'd be 2 months, and it was growing. It was getting bigger, but not bigger around, but it was growing out. What in the world is this? Finally, I went, and of course, it had to come out. So that was a start. She put my decision on my incision on my arm was just about like that. And before it could get well, another one had come down below it, just maybe an inch or so below it. So had to go back and let her do that one, take that one out. And in the meantime, his Earls were failing more and more and more. So his problem, other than his eyes, was basically he had glaucoma, and his eyesight was just bad. And I had to stay home more and more with him, so I quit work. Come home to stay, and he sat over there in the chair. I think he had not a recliner, but a lift chair.
Yeah.
Because his leg, he'd had a broke leg, and he also fell out one night getting out of a little rocker I had. He got his foot tangled up in the side of it, getting up, and it went over. And when he did, that messed up his leg. It didn't ever go back straight anymore. That hindered him a little bit. So I'll say this, in all of our life, though, he lived his life and I lived mine. That's about as close as I can come there. But
I know
it's,
the feeling.
oh,
That's part of my testimony too. Is what and me getting in that wreck made me realize that.
in the process of some of this mess, for some reason or other, I was not a good sleeper. But I got feeling a lot of pressure in the bottom part of my stomach. What in the world is that? Well, I was messing around there feeling that thing. And then I felt a knot. Now, I didn't say nothing. I didn't parry it. It wouldn't work to me. It was just, I thought, well, is there an organ in there that I can be punching on? But it was kind of in level with my hip bone, if you go from the side.
Yeah.
And I go on like this through the summer before I said anything much about it. Then the children began to listen a little bit. I didn't go to the doctor. I waited on a little while longer. And finally, I went to the doctor. I had to change doctors because the doctor I'd been going to, my rheumatologist for the lupus, had left Wilmington and gone over across into Leland.
Mm-hmm.
And I sometimes I just don't know how in the world I even managed to do all the things I had to do. But when I went to her though, and I told her, I said, I just don't feel comfortable in my stomach, my side. I want you to look. And she looked at it and didn't like that.
Well,
She said, I want you to go right away and get a CAT scan. I did. The little girl in there got so excited, or I guess you'd call it, I don't know what else you'd call it, but excited.
Really?
Because she asking me questions that I'd had a CAT scan before, and nobody ever asked me questions like that. But she was just so concerned about me. Even she followed me out to the hall. What she saw is what she was upset about. So when I got back to my regular doctor, she said, I want you to go to the cancer center. Well, that didn't bother me. I'll go.
Yeah.
Or having no pain, weren't feeling bad. But I told her I would go. And I did go. In 2 or 3 days, it weren't no time, she had got an appointment, which is unusual to get one that close.
Right.
But anyway, we did. The doctor there, it says it is definitely cancer. She says, but it is humongous. I thought, well, maybe that's why I felt such pressure. Just couldn't feel, I still weren't heard nothing. And I told them I wasn't. But they got to looking around and told me that I was not in no shape to have surgery. And I could not have chemo because I was too far gone.
Really?
My health was, and I didn't really, I had lost weight, just a bunch of weight. And never was very big, and I didn't have a lot to lose, but I lost it. And I had to go every 2 or 3 days, get iron shots, let them check my blood again to see what my numbers were, if they were increasing. We had to do that for 3 or 4 weeks before I could have surgery. But she kept telling me, she said, you have got to have surgery right now.
Yeah.
Well, right now, to me, was, why didn't you go ahead and do it before? That's when she come across and told me how low it had been, how sick I was, and I didn't know I was sick, or I didn't realize it. Anyway, we then had to prepare for surgery. And that was, to most people, it would upset you to wit's end to say you've got cancer. And especially if you got to have surgery, because she says it's your only thing you've got that you can do. So that's what we aimed for. We had a bad time. You might have seen on Facebook, if you looked at it, somebody asking for prayer.
Yeah.
If it was me, then that's what it was about. I didn't put all that on there. It seemed to me like there's so much. I'm not the only person that's ever had anything like that.
Right.
Every life has a story of some description. Some of them's good, some of them not so good, some of them, all kinds. So I didn't want to put it on there. It just didn't seem that it was the thing that I should do, and I didn't. But we went ahead and had the surgery, and I came through that surgery with flying colors.
That's a little working.
It was amazing, but it had the group, the crowd in Wilmington. They were glad I know when they went home.
How long ago did that been?
2 years.
2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Wow, that's amazing.
But anyway, I never gave up. I knew in my life that every night when I would say my prayers, and this has been a lifetime thing for me. I always had to pray after I went to bed. It was just what I needed to do. Didn't want to close my eyes until I knew. Plus, I remember so well that somewhere in that Bible there's a verse, and I can't quote that one to you, that says we can find a quiet place and close the door.
Room, shut the door, and pray. That's right.
And I had done that so many times till I just, it was routine for me. I don't know whether that's considered being faithful, because I had gone to bed, but I'm laying there and there's nothing going on and it's quiet. And I could say, and I have to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Loud enough that I can hear it.
Right.
Or I don't feel like I'm praying. But I know I am because he remembers everything that I've ever thought of or anybody.
He knows it before you even say it.
Well, that it was one of the reasons, him knowing and me knowing that that verse was in there about everything that I had thought about. I said, Lord have mercy. I thought I was doing okay, but my brain is thinking things, just crazy things. And foolishness is one of the things he tells us to get rid of.
Yep.
So there I was. We have a genetic problem in my family, my mother's family. Between the shoulders back there, women have it a lot. Just a spot back there that will hurt. And you can't hardly stop it. They hadn't found nothing for it yet, for nobody else. But my sister has it. She's having a bad time with that very same thing too. So Earl had been taking tramadol. You know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
You know how weak it is. That's the strongest pain tablet I've had through all this mess.
Yep.
I have not had anything else. And that's all I have today. That is here that I could take if I wanted to.
Yeah.
So how could I not look at this and say that it was the Lord's work? It was not me. It worked because I was so good.
That's right.
Because I wasn't. Earl passed away in 2020. He'd been dead 5 years. And the year after he died, all the children were gone, except Dawn. She had come back home, but she was working. And I had a lot of hours by myself right here every day. She'd get home about 3 o'clock in the evening, 3:30, and then she'd go to bed so she could get up the next morning and go to work. And I had a lot of time to do a lot of thinking. So I just took it on myself to go back in my life from as far as I could remember and all the things that I could remember. See, where did I go wrong? What did I do? How could it have been better? What didn't I do that I should have?
You didn't find anything, did you?
I didn't find anything. There's one thing, some probable things. I probably could have done this, or if I'd have done this a little different, I could have been a little kinder, or I could have been a little this or that or the other.
But I look at that, Miss Jessie, like when they were leaving Sodom and Gomorrah, and the angel told Lot and his wife not to look back. She looked back, she turned into a pillar of salt. We shouldn't look back on things like that. We should just focus on our future today and tomorrow and what we're going to do for the Lord.
Well,
I mean, I know it's hard. We're humans and we're going to sin regardless of what we try to do. And looking back on that,
you got that.
I guess where that hindsight's 20/20 comes from.
Uh-huh. It surely is. But I've been through all that, all this. It's one thing right behind another, and I could tell you some tales that would perk your ears up.
Well, I know growing up and coming here and staying the night and the weekends and everything else, since I just lived right down the road from you, I never knew any of that was going on with you. You put on a good show.
I've been, as I said, I kind of a private person because nobody else around here went to church that I went to but Sadie.
Right.
I'd never had neighbors.
No.
And
Well, the ones you do have can't talk to you.
of course, me and Sadie would kind of try to keep each other a little bit of company. I'm not very good at doing that, but I tried to.
Yeah.
And I've stayed home. So I'm not a person that's been out in the world. We didn't ever go anywhere, or me and Earl didn't ever go anywhere. didn't go to the movies, and we didn't go out and eat supper. We didn't do none of that were
Right.
in our life. But, and I pretty well stayed here. But I busied myself. Well, this surgery that I had this last time, I will tell you just a little bit about that. She told me, she says, I'm going to make you a zipper. You know what that is. And now I had had 2 surgeries before for colon situations. She said, we'll start right here at the belly button and go right straight down just as far as I'd go. And she did. Well, when she did, she took out the rest of the colon, so they only got about that much.
Mm-hmm.
So my life has been out of control. I had no control of me. And I have learned through these years that I have to control it by the way I eat, by the amount of food I eat, and when it is. I have to learn when I can go somewhere and when I can't. So it's basically got control of my life.
I can relate with it.
And to make matters worse, I stayed at the hospital. I was 10 days in the hospital. Then I they sent me over to rehab for 6 weeks, forever trying to learn what to do, because I'm not telling you, and I know this sounds crude as I say it, but when I would stand up, everything would flow.
Yeah.
So I don't know sometimes how in the world you explain to people, and you don't either. And I know you don't, because you can't explain to people what your feelings were.
That's right.
You can say, I hurt and I don't hurt and all that, but that has got nothing to do with what you're feeling.
What's actually going on?
That's absolutely. Well, I finally got through that 6 weeks, however long it was. Oh, about a week. I don't know if it'd been a whole week or not, maybe a week or 2. I got up one night about 2 o'clock, went to the bathroom. I just had to go pee. And I got up, put my clothes up, turned around. I got a towel rack right there. And I grabbed hold, for some reason, grabbed hold of the towel rack. That part I remember. From there on, the only other thing I remember was trying to get a hold of it with that one. I got it, finally. But I think I didn't have no legs. It was like my legs weren't there, and I couldn't hold on. No more. So I fell and busted my head against that shower. 2 o'clock in the morning, and nobody here but me and Dawn.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
So I had to scream loud enough for her to hear me. She was in the bedroom next to mine, but it's still.
Yeah.
She came, got me up, and then we had to call 911, of course, because it was just a little place was bleeding. It didn't take but one stitch to close that up, but it bled through it right on. And went to Kenansville and stayed, and they couldn't. I faintly remember something about them being here, but it is faint. The first responders. Anyway, they got me to Kenansville. And I remember another little faint thing that come floating by. That this is Michaela. This is the emergency room. Somebody asked me, do you know where you are? And I said, yes. Well, Michaela, my granddaughter, was working that night. And I had thought, well, maybe I'll see her here. She'll see me. She did. Anyway, I stayed there a week. And they sent me to Greeneville because they couldn't do nothing. I was out. I would just work back. And Tracy could give you a show, I guess, on all the things that did go on. And they finally decided they couldn't do nothing. It weren't a stroke. It weren't nothing they could think of. So they just decided that they had to call it a seizure. Now that didn't set horses.
Yeah, that don't sound right.
Well, that's what they wound up with, though, because I went to they shipped me on to Greenville. I stayed over there a week. And I went by helicopter. So they were scared out of it. I have said they thought I was going to die. But I didn't think that.
Right.
But I don't remember staying that week in Kenansville a bit more than nothing. And all the things they did, I remember some of the things they did, but it was like, you go into the movies and you're that person in the movie. You're not looking at it. You're that person in the movie. It's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like that's the Lord's way sometimes of keeping us from remembering stuff that we don't need to remember.
I'll agree. I will agree, because Tracy has said one time, after, I don't know whether I was in Kenansville or whether I was in Greenville, I tell you, that they had tried this brainwave thing. You know, they had to use these brainwaves all over your head and keep them for a week and see how your brain's working. They still didn't tell them nothing. Not one thing in the world, except it just ruined every hair on my head. So that was the ifs and ands of that one. I'm still here.
That's right.
I can't go. That was the end of me ever being independent. I couldn't. They wouldn't let me drive no more.
Right.
Afraid that it was a seizure and never might have another one. Well, anybody can have a seizure or a stroke or a heart attack or anything riding down the road.
That's right.
So, only thing I can say, whenever I was dealing with this, trying to build myself up for surgery, I was afraid of dying. Didn't cross my mind. It might lay over and it began to get dark, because I'd never liked dark night. Night's not my thing. And I probably would think of something like that once in a while, but it didn't bother me. I just weren't afraid.
Well,
I just weren't.
I told one of my surgeons one time in the hospital, because they go down there and prep you, then you got to sign all this little paperwork, and anesthesiologists will come in and say, well, you know, there's a chance we're going to put you out, and there might be a chance you might not wake back up.
Yeah.
One of them told me that one time, and I looked at him, I said, buddy, you're not in control. That man up there's in control.
That's true.
And I'm ready. If he decides to take me today, I'm ready.
Now that's the message I got. What they told you right then, you might not make it. I was informed that, you know, we'll do what we can.
Yeah.
And when they got in there, they took everything out, and I'm still here.
Amen. Thank you, Jesus.
Amen.
Yeah.
So what can I say? What better could I have said?
That's.
But I can't ever remember living in a house where there wasn't something about God.
Right. See, that's where I'm thankful too, because growing up with my grandma Shirley and my mother's mother, I mean, they always, that's who led us to Christ. was my grandmothers. And I'm so thankful. I even laid in the hospital one time when David came to see me. I said, boy, I'm sure glad Granny C, my mother's mother, prayed all them prayers for us while we were growing up. Because if it weren't for that, I don't think I'd still be here.
That's true. And it's during some of these bad times I've asked myself, what am I here for? What is it you want me to do? But I promised. I said, I will do whatever you want me to do as long as you're with me.
Amen.
The best I could do it. I am not going to say that it might be A1.
Right.
But I'll do the very best that I can do with what I've got to do with, and that, you know.
Well, as long as we're out there trying, and just like laying in that hospital, I I mean, I had 5 surgeons and all the nurses tell me that I was a pure miracle. I should have been a dead man.
And it's a bad feeling.
And I did go away from here. I mean, when I got where I could talk, I told Ray, I was like, Ray, I told her, I said, I saw that light.
Did you?
Yeah, I was like on a slick leak on a
Will
raft.
they listen to you when you're trying to talk to them?
Who's that?
People, whenever you're trying to tell them that.
Some of them do. I can tell some of them really get it. And some of them, just, okay, yeah.
Well,
I was telling Ray, though, when I got where I could talk, this was a couple of weeks before I could even talk after I come out of a coma. And then when I told her that, she told me that I died twice in the operating room. And you can't tell me that's not real.
whatever you go through, whatever you experience. And I think about, wouldn't it be sad if you were a Christian, if you didn't believe there was a God or whatever, even though you might be a bad person, but you know there's a God.
Yeah.
If you're not, even if you, when you're not saved, you know there's a God. You know it. You might deny it, but
Yeah.
you know it. It's there. It was born in you.
It's born in you, that's right. Everybody knows somebody had to create you. You just didn't appear.
So after that's one reason I try not to say no more than I can say about myself, because everybody's got a story.
Right, they do. And everybody's got a testimony, and some were more way out than others, like mine from a wreck, and actually, dying and coming back the way I say it, because I feel like that's what I did. And then the people beating cancer, like yourself. Everybody's got it. Even if somebody ran a stop sign and almost hit you, that to me that's a testimony if you're a believer.
I don't how you cannot believe. I don't quite understand that.
Yeah, I don't either. That's
What do you believe in if you don't believe there's a God? What is it you should think makes you function?
I've not yet figured that one out. So, like my whole life, I've always been a believer, but I always believed in putting Ray first. That's where I went wrong.
Well,
And all these worldly items, trucks, motorcycles, and all that stuff, and now I realize that I was in the wrong by not putting God first, and then putting that one sitting over there behind that camera first, and then putting me last.
that was kind of. It makes me think. You wanted me to do something that I haven't done. What is it? I'm still here, and I'm fixing to be 90.
Yeah. Well, maybe this is it right here. And we're going to put this podcast out there. Anybody in the world can watch it. It's not localized. Anybody in the world can see it. So maybe you'll touch somebody's heart with this.
Well,
and change their mind.
I
That's why we're doing this podcast, is get these testimonies out to the world and let people believe. So
That's
people
true.
can start believing.
I said I don't want to leave this world and my children not be saved, because there is nobody else that's going to pray for my children
That's right.
or take the time to see or to meet their needs about concerning
Yeah,
being a Christian
that's right.
better than their parents. Of course, here it's been off and on. Me,
Well, I was the same way. And I've learned that now since my accident, that now my oldest son still lives with us, but when he gets up every morning, he sees Daddy sitting in that recliner, he's got that Bible in his lap, and I'm reading. And I'm always talking to him about it, and I'm trying to plant them seeds. And all of our children have been baptized. But just like me, when I got baptized, and then I went on through life and thought I knew better.
that is,
And that happens to a lot of people. And it took that wreck to wake me up.
that's kind of like joining the church. You think you join the church, you're not supposed to do anything, you're just a member of the church. You want to be acknowledged as being a Christian. You want to be acknowledged as knowing right from wrong. And right this day is a lot of things I don't know right from wrong about. I don't know whether I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing without asking.
Right.
And I have to ask him.
Well, anytime that you're spreading the word, you're doing the right thing. I can tell you that.
Well, I just can't help it.
And I've come to realize, because, when we first got married, we went to church all the time. Had our first two kids were dedicated to the church. We went to church all the time. But it was like, okay, that's what I have to do on a Sunday. That's why we were going, because that's what we're supposed to do on a Sunday is go to church. But now I realize I don't care if you go to church or if you sit here and listen to old Charles Stanley messages or whomever you like to listen to. It's still every one of our jobs as Christians to get out there and plant those seeds. We're all disciples. It's not just our job to go to church. It's our job to get out there and spread the word.
Well,
And that's what we're trying to do with this podcast.
strange things happen to strange people sometimes.
Yeah.
Strange things happen that you don't know what it is. You'll never know what it is. I had a little bit of a problem back yonder when it dawned on me, I guess, I don't know how I learned it, but I did, that Jesus was spirit. That spirit business, I just felt like all this time that I've been believing I'm going to heaven and I'm going to see Jesus and I'm going to reach out and hold his hands. He's spirit, and I've seen how that works on the television, how they do it, and that's what a spirit is, sort of. And I did. It took me a long time to remember that Jesus went in that tomb as a human being and he come out as a spirit.
But we're going to see him again one day. We'll see.
So that was many years back, though, when I was struggling with stuff like that. I don't know.
We're going to see him again because all of his apostles saw him. Over 500 people saw him after he resurrected. Saying we're going to see him again one day too.
I'd read it and read it and read it over again, to see, am I right? Do I remember it right?
Yeah. To hear, I take the spirit part of him as he's here now in our hearts in spirit. But when we get to heaven, we're going to actually see him. We're going to be able to bow at his feet and see him. Is the way I look at it.
I don't know about the spiritual end of things. I've never dwelt or even talked about spirits.
Right.
Until I tried to learn about that, and it was one of those things that I reckon just kind of, I think I didn't want to do, because I wanted him to be there, like to reach out and get his hand.
I feel like he will be.
Well, he might be.
I feel like he will be.
That's the things that everybody wants to tell you now, but nobody knows because they haven't been there and come back.
You ain't been there. That's right.
Well, I don't know.
I think we're going to see him. Like I said, when I saw that bright light, there was like a hand, Miss Jessie, that come down. I remember just floating over toward it. The light was growing and growing, and all of a sudden his hand just went. Come down and like pushed that raft back and said,
push it back.
We're not ready for you yet. You got something else to do.
You're not ready.
And then the next thing I remember was like him trying to tell me to breathe. And I think that's when they were taking the tubes and mess out of me and trying to get me to breathe on my own.
They tell you to do it, you do it.
Yeah.
Well, even since Earl died, I didn't do a whole lot of have a lot of dreams and things. You ever have trouble with dreams?
No, I've never had trouble with dreams.
You hadn't? Let me tell you what. One night, I dreamed. In all this back and forth to the hospital, they even one time tried to determine that you got a heart problem. And I didn't have a heart problem, not really. Now, the age is the only thing that's wrong with my heart now. But I did have a problem with every once in a while. I wouldn't sleep well. I'd just partially doze, you'd call it, you know. And you wake up and your mouth will be dry. And for some reason, your breath gets, if you don't wake up, your breath gets more shallow and more shallow and more shallow. That's how people die in their sleep. That's a great death. To me, that would be the easiest way out of here.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I kept having these things after I had the surgery. I kept having spells that I would just fade away. I don't know if it was exhaustion or because I had been wore down or whatever. But one night, you know how I would know that that's what happened to me? I would hear a noise, hear somebody knock, 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 knock. Just as regular, 3 knocks, 3 times. And I could tell where the knock was. Was it that door? Was it down here somewhere? A lot of times I'd wake up, get up, swing my legs off the bed, you know, and think no more about it. But then one night I had this dream, and I woke up and I said, somebody is at that back door. And they had knocked one time, and I heard a 5th knock. Just 2 more extra ones. So I get up, trying to go, and this was before I got halfway better, well, you know. And I made my way to the kitchen, to the door you all came in. And there I could see from the night, there's a nightlight back there, that there was an image of a person on the back porch. I said, Lord, I don't know what in the world I'm going to be opening the door to.
Yeah.
But I went right on to the door. And the blinds, I pulled the blind a little bit, and I could see there was a person there. I opened the door, and there stood Jesus, just as near as you've ever seen in your life. Most I can remember about it with his head in his arms, and I knew. I said, it's Jesus. That's what I said.
Yeah.
I opened the door. It could have been anybody, if there was somebody. But I opened that door and called to him and said, wait a minute. But he had turned and walked to the other end of the porch, going down the steps, and he didn't come back. Now, I don't know what you call that, just a dream, but that was, but it's because I had breathed like that.
Well, that's why I was saying that was probably the Lord's way of getting you up out of that bed and getting you to breathing again. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, it's something that is every once in a while. It still occurs, but it's not like it was. Nothing like it was that first 6 months or a year after surgery.
Miss Jessie, that's awesome. Tell me a little about this book you wrote, Destiny's Children.
That, my children, I'm continually doing what Mama used to do. I was telling them this and that and the other. If I could think of anything directly out of the Bible, I would tell them that. Yeah. But I had a problem because when I was growing up and going to church, they didn't put any emphasis on learning where your verse was coming from.
Right.
So I didn't learn that. I couldn't tell you where. I just know that it's there and I'll find it.
Yeah.
And I had been saying things to my children, you know, evidently came out of yesterday. Mama sending to me, teaching me like that. That was her her way of teaching that she could do. And they got big enough, the children got big enough that they wanted to kind of shy away from that. You're just being silly. Well, I didn't think so, because my grandmama, and when I'd tell them things, that they would laugh, and it'd be funny if I'd tell them Grandma said she's out on the pies, or stuff like that. It's just-
Yeah.
that was funny then, but it was fact. That's about was grandma.
Right.
And I love my grandma. But anyway, that's how a lot of what they know.
Yeah.
When I was little, that's up to my 17th year birthday. I couldn't convince him that all these things did happen. I'm not making up nothing. Mama always taught me these things.
Right.
So I put it in writing. I started it. And I did a while, and being things were the way they were here. Me being sick and him being gone. I didn't complete, I didn't do the whole thing. I put it away, and it stayed away for probably 10 years in the drawer. So one day I drug it out again. After I went to work with H&R Block in Wallace, I got to messing on the computer a little bit. Computers were just coming around to people's homes like they are now. And I decided I'd love to finish that thing and see if they believe it. Well, I got into contact with all my brothers and sisters and told them I wanted them to tell me what the things they remembered from their childhood. Some responded, some didn't. But that's kind of in there too. But that's what I did. It took a while for me to get it. It is raw. It is unedited. It's got errors beyond help.
Sounds like our podcast.
But Tracy saw it after I brought it home. What happened is it came. I had it found a publisher in Wilmington.
Yeah, I saw that. It was on Rice Avenue or somewhere.
Well, when it was published and they sent it, I was trying to think how it came, a UPS or something other, but I was at work. So they lifted out some of them there.
Yeah.
I laid it on my desk and I would read a while if I had a minute and make sure this is mine.
Yeah.
Some of it you might not want to remember.
Tracy told me I needed to read it.
Well,
He said, if you ain't got a copy of it, you need to get one and read it. And I said, well, I'm gonna ask her if you got one.
he said, Mama, I really didn't believe it until I saw it written in that book.
Right.
I said, well, it was worth writing it.
Yeah.
But if it didn't take a long time.
That's good.
But I've piddled at something like that all my life. I think I missed my calling there. I should have, because I've always wrote little stories. I got all kinds of.
Your kids will get over that next, and they'll get it published for you.
Well, doing that, after Dawn came, she was going to school, and she wanted the computer, so I kind of got away from the computer at that time.
Yeah.
And I got into something else. I'd write poems, or I'd write another, just a thought, something smart somebody had said that I thought was good.
I wish I had that kind of talent. My talent is spending money. I'm good at spending other people's money too.
Well, that's all right too. But anyway, after I didn't get well, I didn't get well. After I left the hospital zone and come back home, my knees had been bad. When Earl was here, he had bad knees, and I couldn't do nothing, or I wouldn't do nothing. It wasn't. I could have. I got insurance just like his. All the thing I would do would go to Wilmington. They'd put shots in my knees, so it wouldn't hurt me so bad to get up and down.
Yeah.
Well, there come a time, he asked me one day, do you still want to keep on doing this? It's not doing anything but putting something in there to kind of ease the pain a little bit, and then it'd wear off, and you got to wait another month before you can go back and get another shot, and
Yeah.
all that stuff. So I kind of weaned off of it, but they're bad. They don't swell. They might have a little pudge right there. They don't swell, but my feet, because of the lupus and all the mess they've given me for the lupus, has ruined my joints. So I knew, going back to something my mama had told me, you either use it or you lose it.
Yeah, that's right.
So I did this, that, and the other. So sitting there in that chair now, after a year, it was a year after all of that had gone on. One Saturday, I sat there, I said, Lord, I have done puzzles, but I can't do puzzles no more. I have read, my eyes are getting bad, I can't read can't stay up, I can't come back to the line, and it's the wrong line. I said, now, I got to do something, though. What am I going to do with my life? All I can do is sit here, because I couldn't get up and down from my knees.
Right.
So I said, if you just show me, I'll do the best I can do. That's one of them things I really blurred out on. I told him, I said, I'll do the best I can do with what I got to do with.
Yeah.
And
that's all he expects out of us, just to do our best.
that's right. So I come across the idea that I'll make some bibs for older people. I've got a sewing machine. I've always had a sewing machine. I said, I'll do that. Maybe they need a few in the rest homes. Well, a few days later, I got to looking at it and thinking about it. I said, I don't know whether if they are accepting government money, whether they will let you take anything, give them anything from the outside or not. I had to chalk that one. I said, well, now what am I going to do now? So I still had that idea of going on in my head that I had to do something. So it was probably 3 or 4 months after then before I ever come to the realization that I still could use my sewing machine if I could get what I needed to work with. So I started making little change purses, little pocketbooks, because I've got a computer chair in there. It's got rollers on the chair. So I'd roll all over this house with that computer chair. And that's the way I get about. I don't go nowhere. Pretty well stay home. But that's what I do with my time. That's what I've been doing with my time, mostly. So I cannot read it. I had bought me a Bible here 4 or 5 years ago, just so I could mark in it.
Yeah.
My good Bible, there's probably 6 or 8 Bibles here. That big one over there is one my children used to sit on the sofa and turn the pages and look at the pictures and turn the pages and talk about. I said, well, they're learning.
That's right.
But that's what they did
I
with that
remember
one.
my Granny C, my grandma Odom, she always, every time we stayed over there, and we stayed over a lot after Mom and Daddy separated. I mean, before we went to bed, every night she'd make sure we read that 23rd Psalm.
Yeah.
And she made us do that until we could repeat it. And in moments like that I'm so thankful for now.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's hard to look back and say they were right all the time, and I was being rebellious.
All the time.
Yeah.
Miss Jessie, with that being said, is there anything else you want to add?
That I always love the Lord.
Thank you, Jesus.
I don't think there'll be anything that'll scare me away from that, because He's been with me all of my life. He's as much a part of my life as my hands and feet.
Yep. And I regret not being able to admit that myself. But He's always been in my mind, and I always knew He was there. But I weren't calling on Him the way I needed to, and putting Him first.
I just hope something rubs off on them.
It will. And that's why we're doing this podcast. If anybody out there that listens to it, and they have any doubt whatsoever that we can change it, we can change that and plant that seed. That's what we're here to do, is sow seeds.
Well, I just hope there's something in it that'll do somebody some good.
I hope it will too.
If it's understandable the way I've presented it.
I like to end every podcast with reading a Bible verse.
I was going to tell you what my favorite verse is, though.
What is your favorite verse?
It's actually come from the Psalms, 19 and 14. Psalms 19 and 14. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, O Lord, my rock and my Savior. I hope I don't think
Amen.
things. There's that thinking thing, you know.
Yep.
I just don't want to think nothing bad, not even nothing strange.
Right.
I
And,
will-
and we as humans, it's hard to do that. But
It is.
I've caught myself since I like to say, renewed my Christianity and my faith in the Lord. Is I'll start to think something or say something, and I catch myself like just bite your tongue, stop, think about it, pray, and see if that's the right thing to say or not.
Well, what about just foolish thinking? What if? What you see somebody out there you don't know and you're looking at them?
Yeah.
You're making fun of them, or you saying a kind thing? Kindness is something I've tried to dwell into my children. I just please be kind.
Well, I mean, it's like I said, we as humans, it's hard to do. We're quick to judge. We're quick to judge by appearance, the way people look on the outside without even getting to know them, and you know that's what we need to change. And that's why, personally, I think this world is in the shape it's in now because we don't give each other a chance to know each other.
That's true. Lack of communication. What we commune is ill.
I mean, I remember growing up in the 70s and around here and everywhere. I mean, right down the road, you speak to somebody and they spoke back.
Yeah. Hey.
If you bumped into somebody in the grocery store and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me," they'll be like, "Okay, it's no problem." And now they look at you like they want to pull a knife on you. I mean, the world the world needs more of this.
We're a victim of our own self, I'm afraid.
Right, that's right. All right, well, I think we'll end this one up unless you got some more. I'm gonna read this Bible verse.
Well, I think you've probably heard enough.
I think we're good. I'll read this Bible verse and then I'll get a little outro I play on this thing that we won't be able to hear, but I'm gonna do it. My verses for today come out of 2 Timothy chapter 4. It's actually 1 through 5. I charge you therefore before God, the Lord Jesus Christ, who will judge the living and the dead at his appearing in his kingdom. Preach the word, be ready in season and out of season, convince, rebuke, exhort, with all long suffering and teaching. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but according to their own desires, because they have itching ears, they will heap up for themselves teachers, and they will turn their ears away from the truth and be turned aside to fables. But you be watchful in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, and fulfill your ministry.
I think you're doing that, but I think your congregation is doing what it says there too. They're turning their.
And you know, watching the news this morning, well, I don't watch the news anymore, but I get on Facebook and scan and see what people's posting, and see what little news things are posted or something there that pops in my feed. And that, man, I was like, you know, I got to find a Bible verse that relates to what we're seeing today, and that was it.
Well, give a little bit of thought to how much they know, how much technology has moved on. Whenever you're doing that, chances are tomorrow or within the next 2 days, something will come up on the Bible on your feed about that.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, just suppose you wanted to go buy a Bible.
So it's gonna pop up on there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that thing's constantly.
They know what you're thinking,
Constantly listening to us.
and that's scary
Yeah.
to me.
All right, Miss Jessie, well, I sure appreciate you being on our podcast with us.
Well,
It's been
and
nice seeing you again.
I don't have an exciting life like some people do.
I don't either. I don't want one. Excuse me, I used to live for excitement, but now I live with the Lord.
Mine has definitely been on the roll all the time. There's been something going on. It's not been still,
Yeah.
but I have stayed home.
I appreciate it. And I will apologize. I'm sorry it's been so long since I've seen you.
Well, that's all right.
It's not like I didn't know where you didn't stay at.
Well, that's true, but things are different than they used to be.
Right.
When I came here in 1953, I didn't know anybody except your mama or your grandma.
Yeah.
I didn't know her.
Because she was there from Buellville too.
Huh?
Grandma was from over there.
Yeah, she was. I remember her being in school.
Yeah.
Same time I was in school. Anyway, don't know what my problem now is remembering. Don't get lost before you get it in a sentence.
I think we all had that problem. I think that's an over 50 problem.
Yeah, well, I got it well. Got it well.
All right. Well, thank you, Miss Jessie. I'm going to play this outro.
Well, the pleasure was mine.
No, it was mine, believe me.
Yep.
And I hope everybody gets something out of it.
I was just wanting to know what you think when you read that book. You're going to have to let me know that.
I will.
Hold him to it. You read it.
You have been listening to the Testaments of Faith podcast. We hope you enjoyed our show. Please go and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You can also find us on all the popular podcast and host sites. If you would like to be on our show, please email us a short bio of what the Lord Jesus Christ has done for you in your life. Our email is all lowercase, thetestamentsof faith@gmail.com. God bless you and have a great day.